Imagine you are an American tail gunner in a B-17 Flying Fortress, 10,000 feet over Nazi Germany in 1944. You fought off hundreds of propeller-driven fighters, but suddenly, the sky screams. A sleek, silver shape with no propeller and swept-back wing streaks past your formation at over 500 miles per hour. Your machine guns can't even turn fast enough to track it. To the brave crews of the 8th Air Force, this wasn't just a new enemy, it looked like alien technology from another century. This was the Me-262 Schwalbe, the world's first operational jet fighter. It was the Luftwaffe's last hope, an engineering marvel that threatened to sweep the Allies from the clouds. Today, we go inside the cockpit of the machine that started the jet age to ask, was this the ultimate game-changer, or simply a case of too little, too late? The arrival of the Me-262 in the skies of Europe was a moment of pure tactical jet shock. For years, air combat had been a game of inches, with piston-engine planes like the Mustang and the Thunderbolt slowly gaining the upper hand. But when the first German jets appeared, they didn't just break the rules, they rewrote the entire book of aerial warfare. American pilots reported seeing flying blowtorches that could outrun any Allied fighter with ease. It was a terrifying realization that the enemy had leaped a decade ahead in a single bound, turning the most advanced Allied planes into relics overnight. Engineering the Me-262 required a level of scientific daring that the world had never seen. While the Americans and British were still perfecting the supercharger, German engineers at Messerschmitt were abandoning the propeller entirely. The heart of this beast was the twin Jumo 004 turbojet engines. These engines sucked in air, compressed it, and blasted it out the back with enough force to propel a 7-ton aircraft to nearly 900 kilometers per hour. It was a brutal, elegant solution to the problem of atmospheric drag, launching Germany into a future the Allies weren't ready for. The visual impact of the Me-262 was just as revolutionary as its speed. Its shark-like fuselage and swept-back wings were designed to delay the onset of shockwaves at high speeds, a concept that would become the standard for every modern jet fighter in existence today. To an American pilot in a straight-wing P-51, the German jet looked like a visitor from the future. It moved with a smooth, deadly grace that made the roaring piston engines of the U.S. Army Air Forces seem primitive and clumsy by comparison. The firepower of the jet was designed for one thing: the total destruction of heavy bombers. Armed with 4 30mm autocannons in the nose, a single burst could literally disintegrate a B-17 in midair. Unlike the lighter 50 caliber machine guns on U.S. fighters, the German cannons fired high explosive shells that turned a split-second window of opportunity into a confirmed kill. It was a weapon of surgical violence, meant to shred the flying fortresses before their escorts could even react. When the jet officially entered combat in mid-1944, it sent a wave of panic through the Allied High Command. They realized that if the Luftwaffe could field these in hundreds, the daylight bombing campaign, the very heart of the Allied strategy, would be doomed. The Me-262 was a high-end nightmare, a technological predator that proved German industry was still capable of producing a miracle, even as their cities crumbled under a rain of fire. To understand why the Me-262 was so dominant, you have to look at the massive technological gap between it and its rivals. The legendary P-51 Mustang was the pinnacle of piston engine design, but it was at its physical limit. The German jet, however, was just beginning. It featured an automated leading-edge slat system on the wings and a fully retractable tricycle landing gear, features that wouldn't become common in the West for years. It was a machine that prioritized raw physics and futuristic aerodynamics over the proven but aging designs of the past. The protection of the Me-262 wasn't found in thick armor, but in its untouchability. Its superior speed allowed the German pilots to choose exactly when and where to fight. They could dive from the sun, unleash hell, and zoom back to safety before the American escorts could even drop their fuel tanks. This hit-and-run tactic was the birth of modern jet combat doctrine. One German ace recalled that the jet felt like a flying sword, a weapon that rewarded high-speed aggression and punished anyone who tried to turn with the slower Allied planes. When the jet reaches its top speed, the compressibility of the air becomes the pilot's greatest enemy. The German engineers solved this by using the swept-wing design, which allowed the air to flow more smoothly over the wings at near-sonic speeds. This was a secret the Allies wouldn't fully master until after the war. The world woke up to a new reality. The Me-262 had bypassed the barriers of sound and drag that had held aviation back since the Wright brothers. This efficiency also applied to the cockpit ergonomics and pilot visibility. Despite its speed, the jet was surprisingly stable and offered a clear, panoramic view for the pilot. This allowed the Schwalbe to function as a high-speed sniper, tracking targets from miles away with its advanced optical sights. It was a machine that rewarded the elite experten of the Luftwaffe and punished any adversary who thought more planes always meant better planes. The success of this airframe proved that Germany was the undisputed leader in jet propulsion during the 1940s. They had created a platform so versatile it could be used for air superiority, night fighting, and even reconnaissance. This combat-proven reputation is why Allied intelligence became obsessed with capturing one intact. The Me-262 was a machine that defined the technological frontier, leaving every other nation on Earth struggling to catch up. The most dangerous job for a Me-262 pilot wasn't the combat itself, but the politics behind the machine. Despite its brilliance, the jet was crippled by the strategic blunders of the German High Command. Adolf Hitler famously ordered that the jet be used as a blitz bomber instead of a fighter. This decision delayed the mass production of the fighter version for months, arguably saving thousands of Allied lives. It was a classic case of an ego-driven leader trying to use a scalpel as a sledgehammer. During the final year of the war, the jet proved that even a perfect machine can't win a war on its own. While the Me-262 could kill anything in the air, there were never enough of them. Fuel shortages, bombed-out runways, and a lack of trained pilots meant that most jets spent their time hiding in forests rather than fighting in the sky. It was a mechanical shield that arrived when the army it was supposed to protect was already defeated. The jet also faced a unique record of being most vulnerable during takeoff and landing. Allied pilots, realizing they couldn't catch the Schwalbe in the air, began rat-catching, waiting over German airfields to bounce the jets when they were slow and heavy. This was the only way to kill the Predator. Most Allied victories over the Me-262 were achieved by Mustang pilots who used superior numbers and clever timing to strike the jets at their weakest moment. In combat, the Me-262 was a psychological gift to the Luftwaffe but a nightmare for its mechanics. The Jumo engines had a lifespan of only 25 hours due to the lack of high-grade metals in Germany. They required a level of care that the crumbling Third Reich could no longer provide. For the German pilots, the jet was a spaceship that offered a brief moment of hope in a sea of fire, but one that was constantly on the edge of mechanical failure. The psychological impact of the jet on the American public was immense. When news reached the US that Germany had propeller-less fighters, it forced a massive acceleration in the American jet program. It was a wake-up call that "Made in the USA" wasn't the only mark of excellence in the world. Whether it was defending Berlin or clearing the skies over the Rhine, the Me-262 provided a level of confidence to the German infantry that made them feel, for a moment, that the war might still be won. The final analysis of the Me-262 is a story of ultimate engineering foresight. It proved that the jet engine and the swept wing were the only path forward for the 20th century. The German jet established the blueprint for every fighter that followed, from the North American F-86 Sabre to the MiG-15. It outlived the regime that built it and remains the benchmark for the birth of high-tech warfare. The legacy of the Me-262 was literally shipped to the United States after the war under Operation Paperclip. American engineers at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base spent years taking the German jets apart, studying the swept wings and the axial flow engines. This German DNA became the foundation of the U.S. Air Force's dominance in the Korean War. The military realized that the German airframe was so efficient that it was better to perfect their logic than to try and build something from scratch. Looking toward the future, the Me-262 remains one of the most studied aircraft in history. Its influence can be seen in the sleek lines of every modern stealth fighter and supersonic transport. It is no longer just a weapon of a defeated nation, it's a mobile classroom for the science of aerodynamics. It continues to lead the way, proving that the German balance of speed and raw physics was the most perfect ever conceived for its time. The cultural legacy of the jet is one of engineering excellence. It is the machine that proved a nation could build a craft that defined an entire era of history while under total siege. For the men who fly the few remaining replicas today, the Me-262 is a sacred trust, a machine built to remind the world that in the sky, speed is the ultimate currency. It is a symbol of a nation's determination to innovate, turning defensive logic into a permanent guarantee of safety. Standing next to a Me-262 today, you feel its raw, aggressive, and incredibly purposeful presence. It looks like a tool built for one thing, the high-speed pursuit of victory. It doesn't look like a relic of the 1940s, it looks like a craft that belongs in a future where precision and intelligence are the only things that matter. From the runways of the past to the global dogfights of today, the Me-262 has remained the ultimate tool of security. The Messerschmitt Me-262 is more than an interceptor, it is a 14,000-pound guarantee of technological dominance. It proved that in the modern era, the most important armor is the ability to see first, move fastest, and hit with surgical precision. It is a masterpiece of fire, speed, and absolute German grit. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the Luftwaffe Schwalbe. Was the Me-262 the most influential plane in history, or was it a wasted miracle? Let us know in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Peace out.